You've got satellite mine under construction is it Quanping?
Yep.
You've got several copper gold stuff as well in Ecuador. Is that correct? If you can tell us about kind of what's producing, where are you with permits with the other ones, and what's kind of like the timeline moving forward?
Yeah. As you pointed out, Ying is the real economic driver, and that's in Henan province in China. That's a collection. It's seven individual mines and 2 million facilities. And Quanping that you mentioned is a satellite. It's a bit further away, but I like to think of it as sort of the eighth Ying mine. Being in China, we're close to the source of supply for a lot of the inputs that go into mining. And so, we don't have to carry a lot of working capital. We can get, on what's a pretty competitive basis, inputs and supplies. And a real testament to that is, we expanded in 2024 our milling facility and bumped it up quite significantly from 2,500 tons per day of capacity to 4,000 tons per day. And the cost was around 7 million US.
All right, good day. We have Lon Shaver, president of Silvercorp Metals. I'm excited to have you and to learn more about your company and to get to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Steve. It's great to join you today.
All right, Lon, I believe you're a Boston Bruins fan from Boston, Massachusetts, where I spent a decade, but now you're in Vancouver Canucks. I think that's your third or fifth favorite team. But
I didn't know I was going to get exposed to all my
you're gonna get beat up down the street today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But I am curious. So you are, born in Mass, you grew up in Montreal, and then you're in Vancouver now, and you've got a flagship project in China. Don't run into too many flagships in China. I am curious as to kind of what that looks like, what kind of advantages you might be finding, any disadvantages or obstacles that you have to overcome. And then I'd love to also talk to you about your projects in Ecuador. But before that, if you can just briefly tell us about yourself and kind of, besides your not so love for the Canucks, if you can tell us kind of how you got into the field and how you got into Silvercorp Metals, and then let's jump into China.
Yeah. And first off, I just have to clarify, I am pro Canucks, but just maybe, maybe after some other teams that will remain nameless here in this call. But yeah, no, as you pointed out, a Bruins fan growing up in Montreal was certainly a place to develop a thick skin. I did start my career in capital markets in Toronto, so I'll sort of highlight that I was there for a bit in equity research and mining investment banking, and then came out to the better weather, better environment in Vancouver. And yeah, I won't spend too much time talking about that, but I guess the key thing is in my investment banking here in Vancouver, I came across Silvercorp, and Silvercorp was a client of mine prior to me joining the company in 2018. Switching, gears to the Silvercorp story, I think it's important to sort of recognize the roots of the company, and those are, very clearly tied into our founder and CEO, Dr. Ri Feng, who's a geologist by background. And the short story, there is a skilled geologist that came to Canada to do his PhD in geology. He was targeting a very specific professor. And so he finished his degree in Saskatchewan, of all places. And for people in the States, that would be like choosing to go to, again, no offense to anybody, North Dakota or something like that, to go do your degree. Maybe great school, not necessarily the best climate. But while he was here, I think the key thing was he observed, which was at the time, and which is long gone now, these stalwart Canadian names in the mining industry, and he established in Vancouver and set out to say, I'm dedicated to the mining industry as a geologist. I want to build a long and enduring, profitable mining company that can do great things for shareholders like those legacy Canadian companies did. And so he took control of Silvercorp, which was effectively a shell at the time, and then set out to look for, what were real and viable opportunities. And it was his networks through the geological community in China that said, hey, you should go look at the Ying mining district. It's known for having high grades and great potential, but no one's been able to crack the code to make it work. And, long story short is he took the company over there and on a very, modest initial investment to get an operation up and running at Ying. And we're talking like less than $10 million. And I'll also highlight that's the only money that's ever gone into China from the West and from the public company. But basically, the strength and potential of Ying has allowed it to grow into what it is today, which is a very significant silver producer, acquire other assets in China, dividend cash back out to the company, which has allowed us to pay over 200 million in dividends and buybacks since inception, and be positioned, with a very strong balance sheet, and as you highlighted, now a path forward to grow and diversify internationally. And so that's kind of like the sort of the roots of the story. And, we are, what I would say is in the midst of executing on our business plan to grow a bigger company, and really on the back of, what is the same idea, which is, use good science to go find good projects, build them smartly, build them economically, get them running and generate returns for shareholders so that you can be in a position to grow further, or as was experienced in the early days of Silvercorp, start paying some dividends.
Yeah, lots to like here. So, I mean, I see that you have the growth strategy on your presentation as being organic growth, acquisitions, incubating opportunities. I'd love to get into that, but if you can tell us about China, the Yin project a bit, the jurisdiction. Do you run into obstacles? What advantages do you find, and what's your relationship like with the government there?
Yeah, and I'd say like anywhere in the world, building and operating mines is a complex task, and there's lots of integration and a lot of interaction with the government. And you can certainly imagine, from a regulation standpoint and different departments, that is very extensive in China. The good news is, we've been there for 20 years and we've built up a team that knows how things, get done, and is in close contact, with all the appropriate counterpoints at all the different agencies. And so when things do change as they do over time, it's not a surprise. It's not something sudden. It's something that you can plan for in advance. And it's a more, I would say, collaborative relationship, because, one of the other key factors from a government standpoint is, this generalization, Chinese government, whether it's at the central government level or even, provincially or regionally, there's an understanding that you don't get to where you want to be in terms of quality of life and healthy economy if you don't do something, and you don't build something, you don't create something. So overall, there's a recognition that we have to do things and get things done, and that's, I think, the real benefit of China. So, while you have sort of all and many and different, rules applying to all the different elements of mining, there's still an understanding that, we need this industry. Our corporations that we're, managing, that are running the mines, own the permits. They're Chinese entities. They have Chinese employees. They pay taxes, and then we deliver, a valuable product into the supply chain in China. And so that's something that is key for us. What we do benefit from, on the other side is, being in China and being exposed to that supply chain that we're part of. We actually get, very favorable terms as it relates to our product sales, our concentrate sales, being a domestic producer. And also, being in China, we're close to the source of supply for a lot of the inputs that go into mining. And so, we don't have to carry a lot of working capital. We can get, on what's a pretty competitive basis, inputs and supplies. And a real testament to that is, we expanded in 2024 our milling facility and bumped it up quite significantly from 2,500 tons per day of capacity to 4,000 tons per day. And the cost was around 7 million US, which is sort of unheard of and would be, likely impossible anywhere else in the world. But the fact is that equipment manufacturers, engineers, the people and the pieces that are needed to stitch it all together are all right there and available to us.
So you've got a cash producing mine in the Ying. You've got satellite mine under construction in, is it Quanping?
Yep.
You've got several copper gold stuff as well in Ecuador. Is that correct? If you can tell us about kind of what's producing, where are you with permits with the other ones, and what's kind of like the timeline moving forward?
Yeah. So as you pointed out, Ying is the real economic driver, and that's in Henan province in China. That's a collection. It's seven individual mines and 2 milling facilities. And Quanping that you mentioned is a satellite. It's a bit further away, but I like to think of it as sort of the eighth Ying mine. And that's been running since 2006. We have another mine that's smaller, a smaller contributor called GC in the south of the country. Basically the same type of product, lead concentrates with silver and zinc concentrates. Call it a 10% of our current production. And that came into production in 2014. We have another project in China that's on care and maintenance that used to be an operating mine and where we've identified a gold resource. And we've been waiting for some things to get sorted out from a land use standpoint to get a permit. And then with that, we'll likely monetize that asset. So that's really the foundation of the producing and that other project in China. And as I mentioned, the profits and the cash flows that we've been able to generate have allowed us to venture into other jurisdictions. And so we made an acquisition of a company that had projects in Ecuador. One of them, the lead project, is El Domo, permitted open pit copper mine to be built. And so we've stepped into that and started construction. And then there's a development project also in Ecuador that's the Condor gold project. So those are, speaking to the slide that you mentioned, those are I'll call the organic growth opportunities that we have in front of us based on the existing assets.
Mhm.
At the other end, on incubation, we have meaningful investment in New Pacific, which is another public company advancing two very attractive looking silver projects in Bolivia. And so that is something that we've been helping to support and nurture as they've gone through technical studies and now are into the permitting phase. And then the real, wild card, and we've shown we've been prepared to step out, is to look at M&A opportunities, and that's I wouldn't say anywhere around the world, but we're pretty open-minded to look at what we think could be, value creating, mind building opportunities for us. And that's what obviously took us to Ecuador in the acquisition that we closed in July of 2024.
So for companies in your stage that are cash flowing, that's intentional acquisitions. I mean, that's not easy to find. That are looking to provide deep value for investors. If you can tell us about kind of, where do you see the value for people who are looking to potentially invest in silver? Why silver core? Gold? If you can tell us about your value, or is it a gold play, copper play, silver play? I mean, where do investors find the most value with you guys?
Well, I mean, I think the story for gold and silver is becoming readily apparent in the investment community right now, and clearly people are waking up to the fact that these are two key commodities, precious metals element in terms of gold, and silver has precious metals element as well as that industrial story behind it. And I think after what we sort of call the nuclear winter in mining now, we're sort of seeing the markets awakening to the fact that years of underinvestment has constrained the supply side. And as we find in the industry, the ability to get anything done, get permits is challenging. So, that paints a positive picture of the commodities. And on the demand side, the geopolitical risks and tension and, economic uncertainties is what is, turning people to gold and obviously silver. And so I think that paints a very positive picture. And for us, our script isn't, fully written yet. I think it's going to be opportunity driven in terms of, what are those silver, gold, or, potentially copper with a silver or gold, credit kind of element. Those would be, the key targets for us going forward, and based on the assets that we can find that we think we can replicate, that build and value creation story will determine, which way we go. For the time being, based on our existing assets, obviously our revenues are high 60% from silver.
If we can switch gears just a little bit, if you can tell us about your share structure, what's how many shares do we have we're talking about, and then if you can tell us about the major investors and kind of the makeup of that.
Yeah, so we have 218 million shares outstanding, and other than small amounts that have been added, over the years through RSUs and options, other than that, the only increase in shares outstanding was when we made the acquisition of Adventus, the company with projects in Ecuador. The company hasn't done an equity financing since 2010, so that's been, the history, the legacy of preserving that and protecting that share capital. Along with that, like the rest of the numbers are pretty simple. We've got cash on hand as of June of 377 million. And the only debt we have is a convertible debenture that we issued in November of 2024 to the tune of 150 million. And so what we've been doing, with retained earnings and cash flow is building up a cash balance that we got to about 200 million. We added the 150 from the convert last year, and then we've grown the cash further, with additional cash from operations. And the objective, for that is to deploy that to build new assets and grow the company.
Well, Lon, I want to disclose to our listeners that I am not currently an investor of Silvercorp, and Lon and Silvercorp has not paid for this interview. I am not an investor yet, but you certainly have a compelling story, and that may change. For listeners who want to learn more about you guys, or invest, if you can tell us about your website, your ticker, symbols, and where you're trading.
Yeah, so website silvercorpmetals.com. And best way to reach out would be to send an email to investor@silvercorp.ca. And we trade on the NYSE American and the TSX under the symbol SVM.
Well, Lon, I'll be following your story. Looking forward to kind of seeing what else is going on, and looking forward to continuing the story. And hopefully, we can have you back on our show. But thanks for your time and teaching us about Silvercorp, and for confessing coming out that you're the Vancouver Canucks is your third favorite team. I'm just messing for our fans, but I enjoyed it and getting to know you, Lon, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. And yeah, be happy to jump on again and drill down into different elements of the company, based on news or questions. So look forward to doing that again in the future.